So me and some friends finished up Sons of the Forest last night, or should I say this morning, because it was like damn near 4 a.m. because we were just hooked. And unbeknownst to us, we were in the final cave, I believe, and we did the whole little, the standard epic showdown with the final boss. And before I get into some criticisms, I will say that overall the game's great. It captures the spirit of the first game, The Forest, and so many things it does well. I wouldn't say it necessarily innovates, although I would say that like these games have their own distinct style. Sure they do the same things that other games do. Like the survival thing, the crafting, chopping trees down, collecting leaves, gathering rocks, fighting. I feel like everything is simplified for the most part, and I'm talking about both of these games in general. And that's great because it's not necessarily pick up and play, but it's close to it. But it's enough to keep hardcore gamers of the survival genre hooked, and also enough to have casual players hooked on it. And the horror elements help because who everyone loves to get scared with friends around. Getting scared alone is a different story. You really see the true inner bitchness of people come out when they play games by themselves. I was just speaking to one of my coworkers the other day, and he was like, "Dude, I've been meaning to play Resident Evil 7." He's like, "But I can't fucking do it, dude." He's like, "I'm too much of a coward," and I'm like, "I get it, you know." I don't know. I guess it's hard for some people to compartmentalize, like, oh, this is just a game. You'll be fine if you get through it. But some people can't get past that. I understand because when I was younger, I was like that. I was very into Resident Evil, and now you play these games. And I'm talking about Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2. These games, now you go back and play them. They're cheesy as hell, and like you can play them with like your hands tied behind your back. I don't know what kind of analogy that was. It makes no sense. But what I'm saying is they're very easy, and they're nowhere near as scary as when they first came out. You know, but anyways, the Sons of the Forest, good game. I will bring up a lot. Hopefully, I won't beat you over the head with this fact that the Sons of the Forest, it's still in early access and it shows. Um, there's lots of things about the game that from a performance standpoint to also game mechanics, that definitely needs some polishing, but the spirit is there, the soul is there, and I'm just gonna say it outright. It's not as good as the first one. In lots of ways, it is, and lots of ways it isn't. But if I was to tally up on both sides, like, is this game better than one? Like at the end, I do believe that the first game, The Forest, is a better game. But also once again, keep in mind that The Forest it's been out of early access for years now. It's a full game now. I'm not sure if it's still receiving updates, but it's a completed, finished game. And Sons of the Forest is not. So there's lots of things that changed just in the good 2-3 weeks that me and some friends played. Like it was big differences. New bosses were added, new caves, new armor. I think even new plants and new wildlife, if I'm not mistaken. Lots of bug fixes and tweaks and changes. So I would say the thing that kind of not upset me, but I would say like the thing that I was concerned about the most was the difficulty of the game, which was easy compared to the first one. Like in the Sons of the Forest, when you die, you pretty much like appear at a camp somewhere. The cannibals capture you while you're unconscious. They string you up, and then they put you in this cliche, easily escapable situation, which for some weird reason is still happening. Like I believe that was like a product of the like 60s or 70s, right? Like when Batman got caught, and it's like we're gonna put you in a room full of quicksand, and I'm just gonna leave now, and then I know you'll die because I have faith that you'll die. And then the villain would leave, and then Batman's like, oh, I'll just use my, I don't know, bat dick and drill a hole through this sand and then swim out or whatever. I don't know. What I'm saying is, it's a very weird cliche that still persists today in video games and in movies. I watched The Northman recently. The Northman. Anyways, it's a Viking movie. Overall, I liked it. It was very cool imagery. Very artistic in a way. Like there's lots of scenes there, and I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. This would just make a beautiful painting or a photograph to just hang up on your wall or something. The imagery was insane. It was really cool. The plot of the story was pretty standard. It was nothing revolutionary. It's like a revenge story. All in all, it's a very entertaining movie. But I will say that there is a scene in there where they put, that is it protagonist? Protagonist is a good guy, antagonist is a bad guy. I always fuck those up. But I believe it's the good guy, the protagonist, whatever. The main dude of the story, he gets put in this room that's like easily escapable. They even throw his goddamn sword. They string him up, torture him for a bit, and then they just like the one dude's trying to open up his sword and he can't, I guess, because that sword is like the fucking hammer of Thor or something. Only certain people can lift it. I don't know. But he gets mad because he can't open up the sword. He can't unsheath it, and then he just throws it in the same room where the guy they just strung up is, right? And they all just left him. And I'm like, bro, now mind you, they worked him pretty good. They damn near killed this man. He looked like shit. But anyways, I don't think he escaped. Someone actually helped him escape or whatever. Oh, it was the crows. It's a Norse mythology thing, so it's probably won't make sense if I don't add that, that fact. But anyways, point is that is one of my biggest concerns, or one of the biggest criticisms I have of Sons of the Forest, is how much easier it is from the first one, and they do that all the time. Like I just explained in the Northman, they put you in these easily escapable situations. You're in the middle of a fight, and then you die, or in this case, you get knocked unconscious. I don't know. And then when you come to, you're strung up somewhere inside of a cave or somewhere inside of a camp, and then you have your knife with you because they take your bag, but you always have the knife with you or whatever, and then you cut yourself out, and then you're able to grab all your shit right there. It's right at your feet. So like, I'm like, dude, there's no consequences of dying. Like you never really feel like you're in real danger because you know that if you die, you'll be nearby. And why they decided to choose this route, considering that the Suns, in the first game, The Forest, I believe it was done great. It was done perfect because once you lose a fight or die from like a fall or something, every now and then, right? I believe it's like a RNG thing. You'll get captured by the cannibals and put in a situation where you can escape. But even then, your stuff, everything that you've accumulated throughout the entire game, that's not at your feet. It's not even in the same cave sometimes. It's still marked in the map somewhere, and if it's far away, then you're gonna have to go get your shit far away. You're gonna have to create new shit to go get your old shit. Create new shit to get your old shit. And I like that because it was difficult, but it was also like it made you really go like, okay, I can't just walk into fights blind and just start swinging at an axe and hope that I win. Like I got to be very strategic about these fights because if not, then I'll die and quite possibly, have to go halfway across the map to fetch my ship. And mind you, this is just something that happened from time to time. Most of the time when you died, you just died. You have to load an old save. And if your old save was not, if you didn't save in the last hour or two and you were playing for like 2 hours straight and you didn't save, then guess what? You lost that hour or two. That was completely on you. That was your fault. And you can get mad and blame the game and say that it's difficult, but that's at the end of the day, I know what that is. I know what you're trying to do. You want it to be easy. No. You know what I mean? Like, I like the realism in that, and you only can save if you were to make a shelter and then, save in the shelter, or you can fast forward time by sleeping in a shelter, but you only can save or sleep if you make a shelter. If you don't make a shelter, you just can't press pause and there's a magic menu there and you can just press save from the menu. You have to manually save by creating a shelter. You still do that in Sons of the Forest. And you still can lose quite I wouldn't say you can lose a lot of progress, but you do lose some progress if you don't save regularly or whatever. You can lose some items. But it doesn't feel nearly as how can I say, like the you don't feel punished. You don't really I don't know. It's almost like death is trivial in this game in Sons of the Forest. I believe that they had the remedy down pretty well in the first game, which was like occasionally you'll get saved, quote unquote, by getting strung up in these situations by the cannibals, and then you don't die. You're in pretty low health. You're beat up, but you can get out of there and go get your shit. But that only happens from time to time. But most of the time, you have to load up your save because you're fucking dead. I like that a lot. That's not the case in Sons of the Forest. It's at least in my experience, every single time you die, they put you in some sort of easily escapable situation with all of your shit at your feet, all of your backpack, your all of the gear, your guns, everything that you've collected throughout your entire playthrough. That's one of the criticisms. Another thing is performance, right? I'm gonna get a little, I guess, a little in depth. I'm playing on a gaming laptop, right? Dad, stop rolling your eyes. All right. I'm playing on a laptop. I have an RTX 3060 and a Intel i7 11800. I want to say, I think that's the name of the CPU. 11800H. Whatever. I got like 6 gigs of VRAM. I play on 1080p on high, right? Now, I feel like my rig is powerful enough, it's strong enough. I wouldn't say it's like the most powerful thing out there. It's absolutely not. It's like mid-range shit, which is perfect because I don't play in 4K or even in 2K. I play in 1080p. But I feel like the performance here was all over the place, man. I'll get 60 every now and then, but most of the time I'm looking at like 40, 45. And when I lower, and this is me playing on high, right? Ray tracing off, I messed around with the settings or whatever. And not to get super specific, but like when I put the game quality on low, like when I put the preset setting on low, it runs great. It seems like it's a steady 60. So I'm like, wait a minute. I know that the game originally recommended you playing Sons of the Forest with at least a GPU that has 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And I know I didn't have that. I have 6 gigabytes of VRAM. I don't know if that had a huge thing to do with it. Also, I don't know what resolution they tested that 8 gigabytes of VRAM that's recommended. Maybe they tested it in 2K, maybe in 4K. In that case, yeah, you would need that much VRAM to run this game. But just playing this game, it's a beautiful game. Don't get me wrong. And it's also a newer game, and newer games are going to be way more graphic intensive than old games. So I understand, but like I just feel like my PC is strong enough to at least give me 60 frames per second on high on 1080p. So maybe it's my rig, or maybe it's just the not the localization. What's that word? Optimization. Maybe the optimization isn't quite up to par because Sons of the Forest is a game that's still in early access, and they're working out the kinks or whatnot. So whatever. I mean, it wasn't super like distracting because I'm like, I can brave through it. It's no problem. But there were several times where I noticed like big drops, and like, you go from 60 to 40 in a couple seconds. You're gonna notice that, man. And it's kind of like, oh, come on, dude, like stop, you know. But once again, I can't fully blame Sons of the Forest for that. It might be my PC. Maybe it's just not strong enough. I didn't have it for long. I've had it for about a year and some change or whatever. I just cleaned it the other day. It's in pretty good shape. I also have 16 gigs of just onboard RAM or regular RAM, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I just feel like it should have definitely done the trick, but apparently it did not. I don't know who to blame for that. It could be me, it could be them. I don't know. So the game being pretty easy for the most part. Also the performance. Once again, don't know if that's me or them. What's another thing? I would say it's all over the place, man. Like in this game, as far as I'm concerned, the only map that you have is this GPS handheld that you carry with you, and you have to manually bus out every 5 minutes or whatnot to find out, which direction you're going or whatever. I never found a compass in this game. Maybe there is one. I'm not sure, but I've never found one. And in the old game, The Forest, the original one, you had a physical map that you literally pulled out, and it pretty much displayed every place that you've been to and every place that you haven't been to. And that, to me, that system was simple and it was easy. And it's preferred because oh, okay, this particular part of the map is empty, so therefore I have not explored it, as opposed to the area that I'm in now where it's fully explored. I see caves, I see all sorts of shit. So I'm like, okay, let me go to the area that I haven't explored and see what's over there. This is not the case in the Sons of the Forest, where you can't really expand the GPS. You can, to a certain extent, you can zoom in and zoom out, but it's never enough for you to be like, all right, what the fuck is on that side? Did I go on that side? Because the handheld screen is small, relatively small at least, and you can't really see outside of the borders of the screen because the screen's not big enough. So you kind of have to guess, like, did I go there or did I not go there? I don't know. I would say that it's all over the place when it comes to actual traversing the map, navigation. That's been a big one. I didn't think that was going to be an issue, but it really was. There was, we backtracked so many times. We've entered the same cave like 3 times because we forgot. Even we even put, like, not necessarily markers, because I don't even know if you can put markers in this game to mark exactly where you've been at. You could in the first game, The Forest, but in this one, as far as I can tell, you can't. I think the closest thing you can do is put up a shelter of some sort to let you know, like, oh, I have a shelter there, so therefore I've been there before. But even with the shelters, right? We still, like, did we fully explore? And not only did we fully explore that cave, but, like, there's caves that you go to and you need certain things to continue, like key cards, or you need a rebreather to go underwater and continue exploring the rest of the cave. And then let's say you don't have that at that moment, so you're like, okay, I have to somehow make a note myself, either on my actual physical cell phone, or what we did is that we would take screenshots of it and then place it on the chat, the Steam chat that we were currently on. So we would know, okay, this screenshot means that we're near this cave or near this area or near this camp or point of interest or whatever. So it was kind of, it was shit that we had to do manually, what I kind of just feel like a stick marker or something like that would have done the trick totally fine. Once again, I'm having patience with it, and you should too, because the game is totally worth it. It's totally worth a playthrough from beginning to the end. It's pretty cool. I still love the way they tell their stories. There's minimal talking. The ending is super convoluted. I didn't really get it. It was cool as shit. Don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't know what was going on, but I was still thrilled. I was like, whoa, that looks amazing. And the concept of this is cool. And these characters are pretty cool. But what the fuck? Like, what is going on here? Still, even though I didn't have no clue of what's going on, I kind of had tidbits from reading, like, emails. Or when I say emails, I mean, like, someone printed out physical copies of emails. Like, somebody went on, I think it was Puffton, Edward Puffton, which is one of the guys you get sent to the island to save. Essentially, I told my friends yesterday, essentially we're like Hunk from Resident Evil. Like that, we're like the that's what, at least how it felt like. We were like these SWAT dudes who were sent to this crazy island to find these rich people, whatever, or working for a pharmaceutical company. I just got Resident Evil vibes from it. But somebody was printing out physical copies of emails, and those get left all around caves and stuff like that. So you get to read tidbits about the story, which I did, and I kind of got some things. I know there's some, like, weird supernatural, ancient, like, ancient civilization shit that they had relics, and these relics can do certain things and even produce alternate dimensions. It started getting very sci-fi. Part one you can argue was sci-fi, but it was so low sci-fi that it was scary. It was like, holy shit, you didn't see, like, dudes flying around shooting, like, fireballs and shit. Like, it was very low fantasy, and it worked. It added to the suspense, to the horror. This one went a little full blown with it towards the end. I was like, oh wow, that's a lot to take in, but I still enjoyed it. It looked very appeasing. I'm trying not to say too many spoilers because this is still a relatively new game. As a matter of fact, it is a fucking new game. What I'm talking about, it came out like a month or so ago. It definitely worth a playthrough. All of these things that I named that I didn't like, um, I think that's it. Those 3 things. I'm trying to think of something else. I mean, it's still the final boss didn't feel super epic. I didn't even know it was the final boss. That's how non-epic it felt. I knew it was a boss, but I didn't think it was going to be like the boss, and it was. And I was like, okay, I guess that's that or whatever. And then the ending. I'm not going to talk too much about the ending, but I will say you have to make a choice, and the choice to me wasn't clear. I was like, oh, there goes my shit. Let me pick this up, and bang! Next thing you know, I made a decision. I was like, oh, no, no, no! I didn't mean to do that. I just wanted to pick up my stuff, and then you get to live with that decision. All 3 of us did it. I was playing with 2 other people, and all 3 of us made the same decision because we thought the same exact thing, which was like, let me get my shit first, then make the decision. Turns out that getting your shit is the decision. So it's I wasn't clear on that. Maybe I don't know. It was pretty late too. It was like fucking 3:30 in the morning. I don't know, man. I'm probably just making up excuses. Those are the 3 biggest things that I would say I have problems with. Other than that, you can tell that the spirit is there, man. I know that sounds kind of corny, but like the soul of the Forest, the first game, it's there. You know, like the character models still kind of look the same. They had this distinct look to them. Um, Kelvin, you can, you know, you got to talk about Kelvin. Personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of Kelvin. The only useful thing that I found him useful for would be to retrieve my arrows. That would be, and I accidentally killed him. And he never came back. I didn't know you can permanently kill him. And I also killed the three-legged girl the same way I killed Kelvin, both of them by mistake. Like we were fighting in this camp or whatever, or near this pond. No, we were near a golf course. No, no, no. We were near a beach. That's where Kelvin died. The girl, the three-legged girl, which I think is Virginia or something like that. My friend kept saying, "Yo, that's Virginia. That's Virginia. That's definitely Virginia." I'm like, I have no idea if that's Virginia, but she's dead now. And I didn't mean to. So with Kelvin, I'll tell you this. We were in this beach area and we were fighting these cannibals that came out of nowhere. And they worked us pretty good. And we ended up killing them. But when I turned around, I noticed that there was a guy on the ground kind of writhing in pain. And it was Kelvin. Now, mind you, in the heat of battle, I'm like, okay, that person's about to get up because sometimes when you down a cannibal, they'll just be on the ground kind of writhing a little bit and then they can get up and run away or attack you again. So I thought he was going to get up and I shot at bow and arrow. Well, I can't shoot a bow. I shot an arrow and killed Kelvin while he was writhing in pain and he's dead permanently. He stopped moving and I was like, oh, I think he's dead. Like, I don't think he's unconscious and I don't think he's coming back. And I was right. He most definitely didn't come back. I was like, shit. So I had to tell my friends, like, yeah, I killed. Because they liked Kelvin. You know, they found him a little annoying because he gets in the way a lot. And I've heard also reports of him cutting down people's bases. Like, he would cut down the trees of, like, the tree house. You would make a tree house on a tree, and he will cut down that tree that the tree house is in. And I'm like, wow, that sucks. I never experienced anything like that. But I think that's because they patched it up by the time I played it. Because I didn't play it at release. Um, yeah, I killed Kelvin. I felt bad about that. I really genuinely felt bad about that. Like I was like, fuck, you know, like I can't get him back. And then I fucking killed the three-legged girl, which I'm assuming is Virginia. I killed her the same goddamn way, dude. The same way. Like this time it was like at a golf course. We were at this golf course of some sort that gets one of the Puffton zoned or the Puffton zoned. And same fucking scenario. We're in the middle of all these fights and I'm fighting three or four people. I'm shooting them in the head, getting these cool headshots. I turn around, I see someone on the ground writhing. I'm like, oh, let me kill this person before they get up. And it was the three-legged girl. And I was like, fuck, how did I do this again the same exact way? And it's weird because like if they get downed by an enemy or even you, they don't die automatically. They kind of get into this writhing state, this stage where they're like, "Ah, I need help," or "I will die," and then you can help them. But in this case, they were already writhing. I shot them. They died permanently. Not happy about that. I probably would have got a better ending towards the end if I would have kept both of them alive. But this is a game that I 100% see myself playing again once it's out on full release. Because this game's going to come out on consoles. Not that I have consoles anymore. I sold my PS5. I went full PC, I would say for about 2 years now. I really started PC gaming in 2016, which is pretty new. In my opinion, I still think that's pretty new. So I missed a lot of the classic PC shit, like, Half-Life and Team Fortress and all that shit that's just like, CSGO, all of that was like, that's when people think of classic PC games, they think of those type of games, among others. I was always a console dude, and I switched over. 2016, I was like, kind of dipping my toe in the pool, and then I still was playing console, and then I would play PC, and then eventually I made the switch completely. Whatever. What I'm saying is that the Sons of the Forest is most definitely gonna, excuse me, come out on consoles, which I'm happy because I want more people to play it. Just like I was raving about the original Forest, I played that since early access, and I remember thinking like, this is a awesome game here, man. Like this is I hope that more people play this. Like this is at the time was a hidden gem, not anymore. Everyone knows how cool the Forest is. Both games are a hit, and rightfully so. I'm not being too harsh on Sons of the Forest only because it is an early access, and I know they're gonna work these kinks out, man. It's already. I hope they add some sort of a difficulty mode, like a more classic difficulty mode. You know what I mean? Where it's like if you die, you die, dude. You should have saved. I would pick that because I feel like it makes me a better player overall because now I'm managing my resources and I'm also very conscious about fighting because a lot of 90% of the time, scratch that, 95% of the time, even if I had low health, I always engaged in some sort of a fight. Sometimes I would even pick them. They'll just be cannibals just walking on the opposite side of me, minding their business. And here I am with a sliver of health, just running through the fucking bushes with a bow because I want to fight. Because I'm like, if I die, they'll just pick me up, my friends, or I'll wind up at a camp nearby, cut myself loose, and here I go again. So I didn't really feel the consequences of dying. So I would like some sort of a game mode, and of course, on top of that, a game mode where you can pick, that type of a classic difficulty or whatever the case may be. Or maybe they might even change it to hardcore. I don't even know. Permadeath ain't really my thing. If you die once, I think that's really cool. I love that that's an option in more games now. That if you die permanently, you die forever. That's really cool. But I feel like too many variables. You can just die off some dumb shit. Like you can just fall off a cliff and die, and it's like you can say, yeah, that's my fault. But at the same time, yeah, it's not the way to go. If you've been playing this game for hours and hours and days, and next thing you know, you die because you fucking slipped off a cliff or something. It's whatever. I would just like a classic game experience. What else do I have to say about this thing? Weapons are awesome. That's for sure. Before, if I'm not mistaken, you only get in the original Forest, you only get one gun, I believe. And this is like an old fucking pirate gun that you have to collect all the pieces to, and then eventually you can use it. In this game is a little different. You get handguns, you get shotguns, you get compound bows, you get crossbows, you get grenades, you get golf clubs, you get axes, you get machetes, what else? Katanas. We got a katana towards the end of the game. That was dope. I didn't get to really use it, but one of my friends switched over to the katana, and that's it. It was game over. That's all she used. Um, Yeah, it's the variety of weapons it works too because lots of people were concerned. I remember when I first saw the trailers of Sons of the Forest, a lot of people were like, "Is this just going to be a first person shooter?" Because there were so many guns on the trailer, and I was a little concerned about that too. Because I'm like, no, no, no. In the first game, the scarcity, like the fact that you couldn't get weapons, is what made it feel tense and dangerous. So if you just completely remove all that and then just add a bunch of guns is a different game at this point. But I think personally, I think the way that they kind of drip feeded guns to the game was perfect because the ammo is still scarce and it's supposed to be scarce, at least in my opinion. I'll get to that. I'm glad I brought that up. I'm glad I reminded myself actually. Um, Ammo is supposed to be keyword supposed to be scarce. Like you're only supposed to find it here and there, and you're supposed to use it in situations where you find yourself outnumbered or something like that. You can bust out the shotgun or the handgun or whatever. Unfortunately, I don't know if this is an intentional mechanic or not, but like if you go to a cave, for example, where you find ammo, right? You're like, oh, okay, finally, I found some ammo. It's been a while, been dry, right? And let's say you restart the game later on the next day or something like that, and let's say you wind up in that cave again, that same ammo would be on the same location. So you can just continuously keep topping up your ammo if you just keep waiting for a while. It keeps respawning. And I don't know if that's intentional or unintentional, but it made the game easier because towards the end, I probably had like 80 shotgun shells, maybe more. So I was just like the last cave that I played, I was just gunning, just running around with a fucking shotgun, blowing everything that I see apart. And it was fun. It was so much fun. Don't regret it at all. Glitch or not, it was great. But it also, as fun as it was, it also didn't make it. It made it less tense. And this is supposed to be like a horror survival game, not an FPS. So I don't know. I don't know the vision. I don't know the vision of the developers or whatnot. So I don't know exactly. Maybe they were trying to do a hybrid of both. Which in that case, I think they succeeded because making the game that easy, putting it to that difficulty can totally. It's more of a pick up and play game than the first one was. I can tell you that much or whatever. Um, fun, fun. I can't say I've had originally. I had some crashes or I got kicked out of the server a lot. And once again, that's also another thing that I can't. My internet has been spotty since I've moved into this like basement level apartment that I live in. So I don't know if it's my internet or if it's, optimization or server issues. I can't say for sure, but I will say that that happened to me quite a few, but then quite a lot, and then it stopped happening probably the last week, the last 5 6 days that I've played, up until yesterday. No, I have not got kicked out one time. So that was cool. I don't know if they fixed it or something happened with my internet. I can't tell you, man. It's too many variables. I can't wait to go. I can't wait to jump back in tonight. We're actually looking for another game to play because we already finished the game yesterday. We are going to see what happens when you do take the other option. And then once we find that out, then we'll pretty much just move on to a different game or whatever. But this is a game that I definitely, once I find out that it's out of early access, I'm gonna inform all my friends again and be like, "Yo, you want to go do it again? See what changed? Maybe the story would be more cohesive. That would be good. Like whatever the case is, I'm down to play it again. It's really fun, and it makes me love survival crafting games even more. I've always loved this genre, but like this game really, it kind of makes it simplified. It's fun. It's fun to play with other people. It's a great game, man, and I have faith that it's going to be an even better game come full release because it's already great now. It has its issues, but it's already great now, and I recommend it for sure. Like, if you really want a good experience, even any developer who has a game on early access will tell you the same thing I'm telling you now. This isn't no crazy unique opinion, but like wait for the full release if you're not one of those people who are patient and can't comprehend that these games are still rough and around the edges and still need work. If you want to you provide good feedback, or you're just kind of impatient and just want to play a great game and you're like, I'm willing to forgive a lot of the hiccups that this game has, then rock on and get the early access game. But if you're someone who's impatient and can't fully understand that these games need time to bake and they want you to be part of the cooking process, then it's really up to you. You know who you are. I don't know. I wish I can telepathically know who's listening now. All two people. I want to stop this video, but I want to continue talking about the game. Like usually I stop around this mark. I'm like at the 32-minute mark or so. But I feel like there's so much to cover because it's such a good game and lots of things have been done right. It's more fun than the first one. I can tell you that for sure. I don't know why. Maybe because I played the Forest, the original one, by myself, which was great. It was fucking terrifying too, but it was great. And then I played it one time by myself, and then I played the Forest again with someone else. So it was two of us. This one I ended up playing with three people, all in all. And it was even more fun. Maybe I would have had even more fun playing with three people in the original Forest. I want to see, and I'm anxious to see, and I'm still going to follow, even though I'm going to be playing a different game. I'm still going to follow the updates, developer updates, to see what are they adding. And I'm just going to be texting my friends like, look, they added this, they added that. And I know a lot of them well, all two of them are going to be upset when they go like, oh shit, I wish we had that in our playthrough. And I'm probably going to be the same way. But this is a game I'm going to closely follow, and I'm glad I bought it now because I know once it fully bakes, it's going to be an awesome experience, and I'm down to jump right on in again. You know, I still have questions because in the original, I believe his name was Eric LeBlanc. That's the guy who you played as, and then his son Timmy. You had two endings. You either can save Timmy or not save Timmy. You hear about them, and I think you hear about Eric LeBlanc and his son in this game, and I think you see them, but I can never really tell. Like I'm like, is that Eric? Is that Timmy? It doesn't really full blown, tell you who they are or whatever. You kind of have to deduce it. And I mean that's cool and all because once again, I can't tell if that's the vision they're striving for, or because the game's on early access, so therefore, it's kind of they're still working on the way to make the story more cohesive. I don't know. But it would be cool to know what's going on. I believe in this timeline it takes place in 2013, I think, and I believe the original Forest takes place in the 90s, I think. I don't quite remember. All in all, good stuff. Recommend it. Give it a shot, but just be patient if you do end up buying it, just like with any early access game. And thanks for listening to me rant. See ya.